speaking of Christmas, I think Father Christmas was just at the podium here. And I'm going to talk about 5 minutes about Rick and my perspective. But I just want to acknowledge, I see a lot of familiar faces, and it's been a long time. I feel like when Pink Floyd first got in the studio to do Dark Side of the Moon, and Sid Barrett, who was their key guy before he went insane, he showed up and he was watching them and they didn't recognize him. So, those of you who don't recognize me, it's me. I have to apologize that I'll have to basically read this talk. I'm sorry. I did put a lot into it and it's from the heart, but I ran out of time. I was at, my current passion is competitive rifle shooting, and I was at a match all day today and preparing for it the day before, and I found out about this gig a couple of days before that. So, but it will be short and brief, but I think that you will appreciate the perspective. I'm so glad this book has come out. I'm a little worried now that maybe there's less of the gooey stuff that I wanted, you know, like just imagine the 2 Shine boys growing up with a combined IQ of about 250 or more, and what it must have been like for the parents.
Mac would have to have 200.
This book is going to be a fascinating read, and I can't wait to read it, but this is the first I've seen it. If there's such a thing as a life well lived, anybody who knows Rick and Terry knows that's a life well lived. He's had a huge impact on as many lives as this room 3 or 4 times over, and I'm one of those people. I first learned about the name Richard Shine when I was a wannabe herpetologist before I flunked out of college. I was thrown out of my dormitory at the University of Colorado for having basically a reptile park in my dorm room, and my grades were like this, but I managed to find someone in the herpetology section, Hobart Smith, who let me fiddle around and dissect lizards and things, and I started looking at the publications in Copia and Herpetologica and Journal of Herpetology, and the only thing that was good on snakes was this guy Richard Shine, and they were broad looks at big snakes that I always fantasized about coming to Australia to see. Black snakes and brown, well not brown snake type, all sorts of snakes, and I assumed he was a pretty old guy, something like Hobart Smith, who at the time was in his 80s. Basically that was a blitzkrieg of publications, and I didn't understand how so much was done. I was to see later that it was just the start. I switched majors several times, and basically I was on the way out as far as pursuing an academic career. I have ADHD and just a right brain. I don't have a left brain, so it was never going to happen. But I did manage to fantasize about coming to Australia and introducing myself to the man. I did come, but I came as a zookeeper, and I've been at the Australian Reptile Park since about 1981, which is when I first met Rick. Rick and Hal Cogger would come into the place, and it was like luminaries. I think Jake there can relate to this, that you read what these guys have written, but they were both really nice men, both of them, and they were prepared to talk to me about my latest trip and my views on things like snakes that sweat gray muck.
Absolutely.
I'll skip all that. As a friendship with Rick started up, I began to see that he was open and encouraging, not just to me, but to everyone. It's a feature. And I don't want to just turn this into, praise for Rick Shine, but you got to try to understand, I try to understand how so much productivity and so much influence on people's lives. How many people love the guy? Where did all that come from? And I have some theories, but I think he had some advantages from the start. And I think, as I mentioned briefly, I think he and his brother John the lightning hit that tree, and is that John? Oh gosh, the lightning hit that tree, and it hit it twice.
But I got the good looks.
Well, when I first saw Rick, there was a little bit of, not a lot, but certainly not as shiny. And so I would love to find out more about what happened in those early days, and like, were the parents super nurturing, or my theory is it was nature and nurture, and it was a unique scenario because this is a guy who's positive to the point of enthusiasm, and you can see that with the many students that Rick has had over the years that he's taken to the reptile park. They share that enthusiastic, most of them shared that enthusiastic, unbroken spirit and thirst for doing cool stuff in the field. But Rick went to every museum in Australia and opened up every single snake to see when the testes are big and which ones eat the lizards and which ones, I mean, who does that? He's like, it's incredible, and that comes down to the other component of my theory is that he has a cast iron ass, and he could do the work, just sit down, do the work. And when I first saw his lab in the early '80s, they had these big fat Macs. You remember those things? And there would be about 3 people typing away on them, and there'd be the laser printers, all this work coming out, this flow of publications that they're easy to read, but obviously there was a lot behind them and a lot of work and a lot of focused enthusiasm. Seeing that in his students reeks of leadership, and I think he's led many people, and I think that sometimes is a family thing with Terry as well. I remember Terry going, "Shondo, Joe hasn't taken the exam," or there was something like that. And so Rick's service to herpetology is unquestionable, and this book is well overdue. It's going to be quite interesting for all of us. It sounds like it's going to downplay the exciting Indiana Jones stuff. I hope not. He needs to be congratulated for his achievements to date, and I continue to be amazed by the shift of focus that he can do in an enthusiastic manner from conservation project to a new research project, and then back to conservation. He has a way of enthusing people at the reptile park, as Jake will attest, to projects that we thought, and they blossom. And of course, we need the guidance to get through the bureaucratic impediments that hold us back. So, congratulations, Rick. And I would like to see a part 2 where we get more of the stuff, like which of you was the toughest. And I hand over to whoever, to Glenn Shea, to continue in his Ricky Gervais.
Thanks very much, John. The next speaker is Chris Jolly, who I guess represents the Ghost of Christmas Future.